Welcome to 40s and Free Agents. I'm Gregg Rosenthal with Daniel Jeremiah. It's the podcast that is marching towards player acquisition season, free agency, trades, and of course, the NFL draft. And to set you up, we are going to talk about all the teams not in the playoffs in the AFC, and had more changes on Monday with Buffalo Bills changing their head coach. DJ, you had a theory about why these coaching moves have happened in mass in this season that I thought was really smart.
Yeah, I think everybody was in this neighborhood in their house and they felt good about their house and they felt good about themselves. And then what happened was the biggest house on the end of the cul-de-sac, the big mansion, it's up for sale. And everybody started saying, well, maybe my house isn't so good. I want to get in there, because that was the Chiefs who've run this neighborhood for so long and kind of been a reason why a lot of people have been content, just saying, well, that's an insurmountable force right now. And so we're having good years. We're getting in the tournament. You know, we're a successful team. And now it's like, well, wait a second, we could have everything. It's all out there. There's no roadblock for us. So it's created this urgency and this pressure that I don't know that existed previously. I think that, to me, when you have the top dog and it was New England forever, and then that became available, then, I mean, there wasn't any gap because the Chiefs immediately took that over from them. I don't think right now, even with the teams we have left, and if you could make a case with, you know, Seattle, maybe more so because they have a younger quarterback, you know, how much longer is Stafford going to play? You can make a case maybe Seattle could be ready to go on that type of a run, but it doesn't feel like that seat is filled. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've seen so much turnover.
Yeah, I do buy it. And maybe you look this year too and think, well, if we didn't do it this year, what are we doing? And yeah, you're right. If you think about the coaches, Vrabel in his first year with the Patriots, Sean Payton in his third year with the Broncos, Mike McDonald in his second year, Ben Johnson almost beat Sean McVay, who's now like the old tenured head coach that is still alive, Ben Johnson in his first year. So why not make a change? And I know it's a good analogy for you because no one has like upgraded houses as those NFL Network checks have been coming in more than you over the years. I'm still renting here. I'm just a humble servant, you know, of a podcaster.
I'm just trying to make sure the trash cans get up to the curb. That's all I'm trying to do here, Greg. That's
okay. So we are going to go through all the teams in the AFC, just kind of big picture, looking at all the teams and what they are going to be looking to. We'll keep it fast, moving through all the teams. We'll start with the teams in the playoffs. Why don't you get us going?
Yeah, I'm gonna rip through here. I'm gonna go with Houston to start out. And you look at them in the offseason. Let's start, first of all, I always do with the draft. They've got the 3 picks there that they have in the top 3 rounds, 28, 38, 59. 38, I believe, was the Tunsil trade, which gave them Washington's second round pick. They are under the cap here. They are over the cap, I should say, $8.2 million over right now. So they've got to sort some of that stuff out. In terms of needs and focus, obviously we're going to start by the end of the season. I mean, the QB discussion, does it take place? I don't think you extend Stroud. I don't think you want to look. He hasn't played great for the last 2 years. This isn't just an overreaction of 2, you know, mediocre, turnover prone playoff games. I don't think it's enough to say, okay, we're going to go another direction, but I also don't think that you can ignore it and say we're going to lock him in, you know, long term. I think you ride that thing out. They need to upgrade the interior of the offensive line. This is one of those things you just kind of, it's rumor season a little bit now. So I don't know how much you put into this, but with all the young receivers they drafted last year, there is talk in league circles when you start talking about guys you would try and go after in trades. I think teams are going to at least try and call on Nico. I do think they will try and call Nico Collins. They'll try and call.
Wow.
But I mean, that's just, you know, the rumors you hear talking around in the league.
This is why we got DJ on 40s and free agents. I think they'd be crazy to trade Nico Collins, but it is not crazy to call and just ask. Yeah. I mean, I sometimes worry about him because so much of the production that he had this season was the exact play that he got concussed on in the wild card round. Him just getting thrown into really brutal windows and him making tough catches. I thought he was absolutely awesome this year, but man, they put him through it in terms of the physicality that he has to play with. With Stroud, I think it's easy. You know, look, he's up for his 5th-year option. You do that. If they really do believe in him, you could potentially get a little bit of a discount on him by showing that you believe in him right now. So I honestly don't think that's that crazy if they truly believe in him. I do believe in him enough to do that. Looking at their cap sheet, look, they're pretty set on defense in general. Like, of course, you're always tinkering.
It's awesome.
It's just crazy. I like the roster. It's all about the offensive line. You can cut Joe Mixon. You can cut Mario Edwards. That frees up $13-15 million right there. But probably their best guard this year was Ingram, and he's a free agent. And so it's just continue to push money there on the offensive line.
Yeah, no, it's a team that is very singularly focused, or should be singularly focused on the offensive side of the ball. They are good to go defensively. Do you want me to keep going, or are you going to?
No, I'll go with the Buffalo Bills. They are $11 million over in cap space. We had an emergency Sean McDermott, is out episode with Ollie Connolly that went up on Monday. It'll be interesting where they go in terms of their head coaching hire. Obviously, you want someone that's going to maximize Josh Allen. Is it an old friend of Josh Allen? Is it just elevating Joe Brady? Like, we'll see there. They actually have a lot of free agents that are important to think about. Both their starting guards. I know you mentioned to me you thought David Edwards could get a good contract in free agency. A lot of the old guard McDermott guys who you figure are maybe on their way out. Milano, AJ Epinesa is a younger player. Joey Bosa had a rough end to what was a really good free agency season, but that was a one-year deal for him. And then some of the guys you just brought back in at the last second, like Poyer and Tre'Davious White. So you could see a lot of changes there. Dawson Knox is another guy whose cap number is really big. And look, they're going to have to fill those guard spots. I think they need some outside receivers clearly and a new vision for what this defense is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at that receiver position and just you've got to go get somebody, man. You've got to get somebody to help. Khalil Shakir is a nice player. They've got two solid tight ends, but the windows shrink. There's windows shrink in the postseason, and you need guys who can make those combat catches, physical, a presence, a red zone guy. To me, that's got to be a direction that they look.
Yeah, they're a team. Look, they need some reimagining, but when I looked at the roster, I don't think it's in as bad shape as people think. It's a lot of spots where you got like one or two guys, you need one more, but you're not like building from the ground up. You're very good at running back, solid at tight end. So I don't think it's a full rebuild, which obviously makes sense. This next coach is going to have to make the Super Bowl in his first 3 years, or else him and Bean are going to be out. It's like the highest bar of any team.
I don't know if he gets the third year. I think
right. It might be 2 years. So you got to win fast. Pressure is on Brandon Bean.
All right. I'm going to go next here. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. This was one of the more interesting ones looking at it as someone who's a draft guy. They have 12 picks in this draft. So in the first 3 rounds, Greg, 21, 53, 76, 85, 99. They've got a lot of picks they can work with. This is a team that's got 29, almost 30 million in salary cap space. You're going to start with the quarterback situation. It doesn't sound like Aaron Rodgers will be back there, so they're back in that market. Wide receiver, adding help there as well. I mean, DK, obviously the 2-game suspension didn't help at the end of the year, but they were able to get around that, but need another guy there. And then really, I just put the secondary like all the way across the board. That secondary has to be much better. I think they've done a really good job drafting on the line of scrimmage, offensive lineman, defensive lineman the last couple of years. They've got good young players there, a lot of talent, but they need to get better on the perimeter, and they need to find the quarterback. And I could make a case if I just laid out an offseason plan for you here, and I'll get the Rosenthal opinion on it. All these 12 picks, I want to take at least 2 of these picks. I mean, you could take 2 third-round picks. I'm getting ammunition in 27. And people always say, everybody always talks about the next quarterback draft class. And I'm like, well, I'm telling you, this quarterback draft class is not great. And there are going to be bona fide dudes next year. We've not that long ago, we saw 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12. I'm not saying it's to that extreme, but there's going to be talent there. And if I were them, I wouldn't force the young quarterback this year. I would try and get some assets for next year. Bring in your new head coach. It might be a situation where, God forbid, they might have a losing season next year, something that they never had under Mike Tomlin, but it might be for the greater good, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, but we're burned here. I'm just a normie, DJ, following the draft from afar, listening to people like you until we get really close to it. And I've heard that the last 3 years. Oh, the next one's going to be better at quarterback. Oh, the next one's going to be good.
Yeah, that we had a monster year. What happens is it's like anything else. When you have that year where you get the 6 guys, last year was not as good. This year, it's very similar to last year. And I would say maybe not even as good as last year. So we had that peak. We have a couple down years, and I think we're headed back next year. I really do.
Saw a good stat that more quarterbacks from this class have won games. It's Bo Nix, it's Drake May, it's Caleb Williams in the playoffs.
Jaden Daniels in the conference championship game the year before.
Right, in the first 2 years of their career than any quarterback draft class in like 30-something years. And Caleb was very close to breaking that record in that Rams game. I don't think the Steelers have nearly as big a rebuild as people think.
Good young players on the line of scrimmage. That's a good place to start.
And the guys on the front 7 on defense, which are so good, like, you're not just going to cut these guys. They're good players. The contracts aren't that crazy. They have cap space. Jalen Ramsey's one guy where, his cap figure might outweigh how much value he's giving them. Yeah. But for the most part, like, it's a solid enough roster. They certainly need another wide receiver.
You know what? When you have this many, like, just look at 53, take the first round pick out of it, 53, 76, 85, 99. You know what you find in between 53 and 99? You can find corners. You can find receivers. You can find safeties. That's a sweet spot for where their needs are, because the high ticket items, outside of the quarterback position, you're talking about, those offensive lines, offensive tackles, edge rushers, like, they're in pretty good spot in all those spots.
So the Chargers are a team I was surprised was assigned to me. I guess I
like it because I wanted to get an outside look. Okay. I don't want an inside out look.
I thought Drew just thought, like, actually DJ doesn't really know his stuff when it comes to $80 million in cap space.
Most, I believe.
More than they know what to do with. The Patriots are up there. Looking for a new offensive coordinator. Have had some very interesting interview requests. Dable, Brian Callahan, Mike McDaniel. So we'll just see Arthur Smith, see where that ends up. The free agents are as good a list as any team has in the league, unfortunately, for the Chargers, though. So they're going to have to spend money to keep these guys. Khalil Mack considering retirement again. Odafe Owe, who came in. Tier Tart had a great year for them. Zion Johnson came through for them this year. I listen to this Chargers podcast sometimes, Guilty as Charged. They did a top 10 Chargers for the season. Well, there's 4 of them. So those guys are guys they're going to have to try to keep, and also offensive line. I would think on the interior especially would be big.
Yeah, I think rebuilding the interior of the offensive line's number one without question. You get the 2 tackles back. I think you have to, whether it's with a draft pick, which you could do with 3rd round pick, just say we're going to take a swing. We're going to get a quality swing tackle, because you have to have some insurance, because Slater has had some injuries here, and that's a tough injury he's coming back from. I think Alt's going to be fine coming back, but just maybe some young insurance at the tackle spot, but rebuilding the interior of that offensive line. I would also say on the to-do list, Tui Pelotu is eligible for an extension coming off of a monster year. He's 23 years old, elite character, great dude. So I think those 3 pass rushers, and I think in a perfect world, they figure out a way to pay all of them to get Khalil to come back for 1 more year. I think he's got value still. And then, Owe, I think he ended up with 7 or 8 sacks. And so he didn't have any with the Ravens. Got 7 or 8.
He made himself some money. That Chargers run, he made some money, whether it's with the Chargers or not. He made some money. And but
I mean, look, they're and it'll be interesting to see what they decide on Keenan Allen. To me, that's a fascinating one, because Herbert, I think he was the most targeted receiver this year. Well, a lot of those targets came from Ladd McConkey. And while Keenan was able to convert a lot of those 3rd downs, Ladd would have provided a lot more explosiveness with those targets. So it'd be interesting to see what they decide to do there. But when you look at, where they are with skill players, young skill players, all on rookie deals, all cheap, they're in a great spot to be able to make some noise in the offseason.
When you have that much cap space, you don't really need to make cuts. But since I've got you here, do you think they'll cut Mekhi Becton after?
Yeah, I would be shocked beyond shocked if he's back next year.
Okay. This is why That's why you listen to 40s and free agency. I wouldn't have known that. I'm going to put them on my list of potential cuts. NFL.com.
You know what? Hey, honey.
People like those articles.
Let's go for a jog. You want to go shopping today? No. 40s and free agents is out, and they're going to let me know if Mekhi Becton's going to be back with the Chargers. Put that on hold.
You underrate how deep in the weeds our listeners want to go. All right, you're up next.
All right, I'm up next. I'm going to go. We're outside the playoffs now, so I'm going to go Vegas. Vegas has 10 picks, only 2 in the first 3 rounds. So 30. Or sorry, no, they have all 3. 136 and 67. So they've got their allotment there. $84.1 million in cap space. So a lot of room there. Quarterback, head coach, offensive line, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then I wrote edge D line. They can make a case outside of taking the quarterback, which I would imagine will be Mendoza with the first overall pick. I think you could make a strong case. Let's just go BPA, best player available on the offensive side of the ball. Let's try and load up, use some of this money and get a functional offensive line. And I think they had health issues too. You get your left tackle back healthy. That helps. Colton Miller. And then, to me, I think Powers Johnson has a chance to be a good center. I like him there at that position over guard, but continue to throw resources, try and fix the offensive line. You get the quarterback. You'll have a tight end who's arguably the best in the league and a solid young running back. I think this could be a watchable offense within a year. I do think that's possible.
I just assumed they would cut Geno Smith, and I still would guess they will. But if I had to guess, then when I saw that they had $80 million in cap space and they only save $8 million against cap, they don't have to cut Geno Smith. They could keep him around.
I don't know. I would not. I'll go on record and say I would not do that.
He's been a backup before.
I know, but that was also, we've seen Pouty Geno up in Seattle when he wasn't happy, with the contract situation. I don't know that's. Fair. He's gone from that backup Geno to starter Geno. I don't want to do that.
He was backing up Hall of Famers in Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, it's different.
And I backed myself into a corner. I don't think Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer. So sorry.
Okay,
taking that take.
Wow, I thought you were going to say Russell Wilson. I thought we were getting ready to go is Russell Wilson the Hall of Famer discussion?
I'd put him in over Geno. Over Eli. I don't think it's crazy.
Let's not do that here. Let's just keep it going.
They need absolutely everything. There's nothing they don't need, which is why in the end, I think cooler heads will prevail and they'll keep Max Crosby. There was some buzz that Max Crosby kind of wanted out after they didn't let him play the last couple games, but I doubt it, I guess.
It's funny though. You look at, if you're just looking at salary cap, because we just talked about the Chargers and all their space, and you talked about the Raiders and all their space. So, hey, something in common. Well, actually, the Chargers have a lot of good players they need to figure out how to keep, and it's pretty much a blank canvas for the Raiders. They can just go outside with all that money, and I don't know how much of that inside they need to re-sign there.
Right. They if they traded Max Crosby, by the way, they would save like $30 million against cap. But what's the point? They have too much cap space.
There's a lot of teams with cap space, which again, you give me the teaser on the free agent crop overall, Greg, but I just don't think there's going to be enough great players to satisfy all the cap space that's out there.
No, I've been saying it now for a couple of years. There's too much cap space in the league. It is much harder to find great players to spend it on than it is to really get in trouble, especially with the.
That's how Dan Moore ends up making whatever making like $30 million a year, or whatever he got.
Speaking of which, the Jets, let's go to them. $66 million in cap space, mostly a clean slate here in terms of what you could add. Like they need everything. They obviously need a quarterback. They need a second wide receiver. A.D. Mitchell was a nice throw-in in that trade, who actually was productive and maybe can help them as a 3-4 receiver, but they need linebackers. They need defensive backs. I mean, it was one of the worst defenses that you'll ever see. They have Breece Hall as a free agent. To me, with all that cap space, you might as well just tag Breece Hall and have one less problem to fill, because he's a good running back and it's not a exorbitant tag. Quincy Williams will probably be elsewhere. They have to hire a defensive coordinator at some point. But a little surprising.
Talk about the fun stuff. You buried the lead.
What's the fun stuff?
With the Jets, look, it's not a lot to be excited about. Let me give you something to be excited about, because you have an excited Jets fans. 12 picks, Greg. The second pick, the 16th pick. So there's 2 first rounders, 33, 44. You got 2 second rounders. Then there's no third, but then you get to a 4. You've got 2 5s. You've got 3 6s, 2 7s. They need to spin off the same thing that I just said about Pittsburgh. They need to spin off some of this, and they've already got extra capital next year. Just keep loading up, man. Keep loading up. Get your lottery tickets ready for 27.
Yeah, I think when they decided to stand pat, it's really amazing that there's 10 openings and the Jets aren't one of them. Man, I know this is not how it works, but you almost should be committing multiple years because this GM, at least Darren Muji, is gonna really set the groundwork for what this franchise is going to be like for the next 5 years, whether he has the job or not. So many.
They already have 3 first-round picks in 27.
Right. So even if Aaron Glenn isn't there long term, you got to think that Muji is, and so we'll see. They were one of the easiest teams to look at because there's not many cuts, there's not many good players. Justin Fields, I assume, will get cut, and that'll open.
This would be a fun team to be a scout for right now. Super fun because you maybe have a chance to
get back in. You already got that nice house.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Get back in.
To use one of your words, you can reimagine this football team.
Okay.
Over the next 2 drafts will determine whether the Jets are relevant for the next decade. This is their time. They've got to nail it.
All right, let's do one more team each, and then we'll take a break.
Okay, I'll get Tennessee. Tennessee is picking 4, 35, and 66. Another team, 77.1 million in space. So they got a ton of spots here. Head coach, it looks like as we're recording this, Matt Nagy's been the rumor that was going to be the connection. We'll see what happens there. So when you look at them, this one of any team, I just simplified it and I just wrote BPA offense. Just every round at the top of the free agent market, wherever you want to shop, we are taking the best player available on the offensive side of the ball because I want a year from now, whether or not we win 5 games or 12 games, I want to say we have our quarterback going forward. And I like him. I actually do like him a lot. I like Cam Ward. I think he's got a chance to be good, but you've got to get a chance to evaluate him. You just load up on the offensive side of the ball. You'll hear this kind of trend with me as we go through this. I have I'm not going to waver on the philosophy when you have a young quarterback and people say, oh, you build up the defense. You don't have to score as many points. I'm like, no, I'd rather lose 28-27 with my young quarterback getting better, gaining confidence. That's going to be the long-term move for this organization. We can get to the defense, but solve the offense first. Give that kid a chance.
And the defense has a few players, Jeffrey Simmons being the most notable among them. Not a lot of key free agents for them. Kevin Zeitler's 36 years old. Figure he's not going to be back. They've put a lot into their offensive line over the last 5 years with the 3 different regimes that they've had, and it hasn't really borne fruit in particular. But I think you're right on just investing.
Look what the Bears did. Look what the Bears did.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to get to the defense, but they fix the offense first, and then they look at all the hope that they've generated there with Caleb Williams, based off all the things they accomplished in free agency as well as the draft in 1 year.
Would anyone take Calvin Ridley in a trade? His stock isn't that high.
I think you're moving on there.
But it makes sense. They probably will. You save $13 million in cap space, but what do you need the cap space for? L'Jarius Sneed, by the way, is another guy who I do not expect back there. That'll open up some cap space, but there's kind of no point. Maybe just hope that you get a good Calvin Ridley year. You need as many people around. I do like the young rookies, and I think the tight end. And talking to people that were on that previous staff, there is belief that tight end Helm is going to be a really, really good player. So file that one away. They had a good first draft with Mike Borgonzi, but then again, at the point he was making those picks, this guy Chad Brinker was more powerful than him, and they've already flipped those roles that now it's Borgonzi. It's always changing in Tennessee, but he comes from Kansas City, and they'll give him a few years here. Speaking of which, the Chiefs are not one of the teams with a lot of cap space.
It's weird to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs in this type of a show, by the way.
They are $62 million over the cap, and they have this bank account called the Patrick Mahomes contract, the greatest bargain for any team in the NFL. How underpaid he is relatively, and the way it's structured, they just kind of change the money around. But $62 million over is a lot. They are not going to be able to go too crazy. They can save $20 million by cutting Juwan Taylor, which I think is a move they will do. Other than that, there weren't a bunch of obvious cuts. Mike Dana, Christian Fulton potentially could get some space. Would they ever consider trading Chris Jones or Trent McDuffie at this point in the process to save some money? They're gonna have to be creative here because they don't have a quarterback at the start of the year, you don't think. Gardner Minshew also suffered a devastating injury, so they have to figure like that out, like who's going to be the quarterback in OTAs. And they have a lot of needs. Pass rush, kind of rethinking the offense. Rashee Rice has legal troubles potentially. Hollywood Brown's a free agent. There's just a lot here. I could go on and on. I have a lot of notes on the Chiefs. They have a lot of work to do. It is not an easy job right now for Brett Veach, but you do have Patrick Mahomes in the building and Andy Reid in the building. It's a nice advantage over normal teams.
They've got to get back to nailing the draft. You know, it's not been, if you look at as one of my buddies in the league always says, losing leaves clues. And when you look at kind of how the Chiefs have arrived to this place, you look at their last 3 drafts and the combination of lack of dependability and production from those last 3 drafts has kind of caught up to them. And they did a great job in the previous years before that, where they had built up a dominant young defense. We thought that defense was going to be, a chance to be an elite defense for a long time with all these young emerging players. And outside of McDuffie, I don't know how many of those, and Bolton's been really good, but I don't know how many of those guys have continued to just progress. Karlaftis is okay. He's a solid player, but like they're not to the level, not to the level he's getting paid for sure.
And some of the more solid players are free agents too. Jalen Watson is going to be relatively high on my free agency list because he's a player who's produced. Cook, their safety, was their starting safety. Leo Chanel's an interesting player. Kelsey's a free agent. Like, does he come back? Because they gave him a lot of money. Those are 1-year deals. Those go straight on that cap. So if he wants to come back, you assume they work out a contract for him. So that's another big one. But man, a lot of work to do for the Kansas City Chiefs. All the people have been hating on them for all the years who just root for Nick Wright's downfall. They're enjoying life right now. But I'm not buying that they're in some sort of total rebuild. When you have Patrick Mahomes, and we're going to assume he's playing in the second half of next season, you're going to have a chance.
By the way, sidebar, you know how weird of a sport baseball is?
Sure.
I just saw this yesterday. But Kansas City, they don't feel good about their power. So arbitrarily, hey, we're going to move the fences in 10 feet and done. There's nothing wrong. In football, that's our kicker's not good, so we're going to move the goalpost up. We're going to move the goalpost up about 5 yards.
Or if you're the Dodgers, you're like, we have 8 $100 million players. Let's add another one in Kyle Tucker. Let's go. Let's take a break. We'll be back and wrap up.
I'm going to go AFC. Throw up. I'll be right back.
We are back on 40s and free agents. DJ has taken a moment to collect himself and just live with the playoff failures that is being a San Diego Padres season ticket holder.
It's tough, man. It's tough, but man, is it going to be sweet if we ever do. I mean, we knocked them out of the playoffs in 22. That wasn't that long ago, but if we could ever do it to this super team that they've built, and it does, what makes me feel good. And then we'll get back to football. What makes me feel good is I've long hated the Los Angeles Dodgers with a passion. And as they say, misery loves company. To know that the rest of all of baseball fandom, including the big market New York Yankee fans and Boston Red Sox fans and Chicago, they all joined me. They all said, you know what? You've been right in hating this despicable organization for as long as you have, and we're going to join the fight. So now they're clearly the number 1 most hated team in the league. And I'm sure by the time we finish this episode, they'll throw out another deferred contract for $400 million.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that works out for you. Now, as a fan of 2 despicable organizations, it was a tough 7 years between the Patriots making this AFC
You're
championship
so spoiled.
game.
So tell me, are your kids both Dodger fans and Patriot fans?
They're both huge Dodgers fans. Neither one of them are Patriots fans. They forsook me. Is that a word? Forsaken? Big Rams household here for my daughter and my wife, and my son for some reason became a Texans fan. So it was a good thing I was at work on Sunday when it was Texans Patriots, and I heard he was in tears, which kills you. He was pretty upset after each successive turnover. He was getting
that's tough.
Some things were happening.
All right, I'm going to keep us going here. I'm going to go to Cleveland. Cleveland has 10 picks in this draft, including in the first 3 rounds, 6, 24, so 2 first rounders, 39 and 70. So opportunity in this draft, do some damage there. They are $65 million over the cap right now. And I'm sure that's the Deshaun Watson factor, I'm guessing is a
lot. Oh, that's
Miles?
not it.
Is it
it's
Miles?
Not it.
What is
it? You know what it is? It's because of Deshaun Watson and because they went all in general. It's all these guys that they've pushed money into the future forever. All those aging offensive linemen that are gone, they're all gone.
Not gonna have any of them.
They're all with dead cap next year. There's like 10, 20, 5, 6. It's like, it's a problem.
Well, there you go. So there's that. I wrote down head coach, quarterback, obviously the two big things there as we're recording this. I haven't landed on a head coach yet. I think it'd be huge if the head coach isn't Jim Schwartz, that they find a way to keep Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator who's done an outstanding job there and who has the perfect defense for what they have personnel-wise, specifically with Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles Garrett was put on this earth to play in that wide 9 that Jim Schwartz utilizes there. And then I wrote for the priorities outside of obviously those two big ones, head coach and quarterback, the entire offensive line, no big deal. We just have to build an entire offensive line in this offseason. So thankfully they do have some picks there, and they got to figure out the money side of it.
I never seen anything like it. Like
we need a whole new group.
Here's what I'll give them. I've never seen an over the cap page quite like them. Other than David Njoku, there's no one on the team you can cut really and save any money. Like literally not even an option, because they've already done that. They've already like moved the money around. And then the offensive line thing is crazy. That Daniel's not exaggerating. Literally the entire offensive line, they're all free agents.
Yeah. It's insane.
And they're all aging too. So I don't like
the fun thing.
I don't think they're bringing them back. They're either like Joel Bitonio is probably retiring. They left tackle's just wide open. Wyatt Teller, I think, will be moving on. He might be retiring. Like, who knows? Here's
the opportunity. So let's look at it as instead of oh no, here we go, of like, this is a great opportunity. They have young skill players from this rookie class on both sides, but when you look at Fannin in the year that he had, Judkins, what he can do, wide receiver wise, why am I on the speedster who was who was undrafted free agent?
Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, Isaiah Bond. He's got some juice, but like they have a lot of different pieces, a lot of different type of guys you can play with there. Now, hear me out. It's set up perfectly for them. These picks, we're going to build this young offensive line. You have a chance to have the best young nucleus. If you can hit on offensive line picks with some skill players, you get the offensive line. Now, here's the plan. We're going to give Shedeur the year. We're going to, I don't know there's a great opportunity to upgrade over him right now. He costs you nothing. We're going to give you the year. And either he proves he's the guy with all this young emerging talent that we have, or he proves he's not the guy. And we're going to have a quarterback come in 27 to a team with a really good young core of offensive players for him to grow with. So I think they're in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, if not for the like $40 million you're playing into guys not named Deshaun Watson that are not on the team, and the money you're paying to Deshaun Watson.
That'll clear up a year from now, I think, at least.
Yes, they're
that clear.
I never quite got them keeping Andrew
I'm
Berry.
a take your medicine in 1 year guy, by the way. Just take your medicine.
That's a good point, because they had the most expensive team in the league in aggregate over the last 2 years. I mean, that GM staying.
He drafted really well last year.
Fair. I appreciate you.
It's a glass
not trying to claim victory. No, not that, but not trying to claim victory on the Travis Hunter trade and me saying it was an abomination by the Browns last year.
Did you really use that strong a language?
Right. I don't know if I did, but right now they feel better that they have those picks. The Bengals, a lot of cap space. They're an easy team to talk about because, like, I thought about like another team might even. Are we going to get creative and like trade an Orlando Brown or a T Higgins just to fill spots up? But that's not. It's not what the Bengals are going to do. They don't have a lot of key free agents outside of Trey Hendrickson. Joseph Asai and Cam Taylor-Britt have both played a lot for them, but been up and down. And you got to spruce up the interior of the offensive line. But beyond that, it's the entire defense. I mean, I know they drafted 2 linebackers last year. They didn't play that well. And then the other positions, it's wide open. Basically in the secondary in terms of their safety position, and then the entire defensive line without Trey Hendrickson, you need upgrades.
Yeah, it's still, it's a golden opportunity.
Same thing.
Because Burrow's if he's out there, is going to score a bazillion points. So
And you got two tackles that you like. You got a running back that you like. It's not even just Burrow and the receivers, but man, they kept their defensive coordinator. So not a lot's changing there in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know why I bothered to look at their draft selection. They got 7.
Yeah,
we're gonna roll with our 7. We're good to go. Yeah.
Exactly. They do like
you know what they are.
Dax Hill.
They are the Bengals are the Steve Jobs closet of the NFL. Like, just put on that black shirt every day. Like, we're gonna have the same picks. We're gonna try and do the same thing. Just consistency, man. You know, we're gonna have the same coach, same GM. We're gonna do the same thing. Here we go.
I used to get grief on the show that I called Zach Taylor just like the polo shirt of head coaches. Like he's just solid. Yeah. You know, you just put on Zach Taylor and don't think about it. You're not gonna win any fashion contest.
You want to go? You want to go golf? You want to go to church? You want to go to the movies? Fine, you can go all 3 with a polo. It's a versatile piece of clothing.
I mean, I'm a big polo guy. All right, you're up.
All right, I'm going to go Miami here. Miami is picking 11, 43, 75, 87, 90. So they are in a great spot here with draft capital in the first 3 rounds. They are unfortunately $27.5 million over the cap. We are trying to figure out the quarterback situation. Obviously, we have a head coach to hire. Tua, that ship sailed. And then I wrote down corner is a key area for them to address. Get that secondary kind of built back up. So those would be some key areas. It's not a coincidence. A lot of these teams we're talking about, quarterback and head coach, are both on the to-do list.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tua, that ship has sailed. He said he welcomes a move. It's going to be important for them.
He said it would be dope, I believe, was his word.
He's honest. It will be dope for him and for Dolphins fans, I think, at this point. Both him and Tyreek Hill, look, you save much more money, especially the way Tua's contract is, if you trade them versus cutting them. In fact, cutting them is a problem. You almost can't cut Tua, so you kind of have to get someone to just take like something, like a 7th round pick swap that comes with the restructured contract just because of how the money is going to hit there. I got to assume Tyreek Hill is done there too. So he could be
if not done, period. We'll see. That was a bad injury he had with his knee. So
there'll always be someone, who knows, maybe an Andy Reid reunion. It's not like they're like without talent on the defensive side and even in terms of Achane and Jalen Waddle, and I think they like Patrick Paul's developed at left tackle. Like,
he's been better. I always like to fess up on guys that have exceeded my expectations for him. I was not a big fan of Patrick Paul's in the draft process. I didn't see it, and he's played better and better and proved to be more than a functional player. So that was one that I got wrong, and they've got a talented young guy there.
And a second-team All-Pro in Aaron Brewer at center. So, and when I looked at the free agency list, one of the least consequential free agencies lists in the league. So that's good news for whoever. It's John Eric Sullivan at GM, but whoever.
I will say this. I talked to some guys who have done a much deeper dive on their roster than I have at this point in time, and I don't know if one of them, I believe, interviewed. The other one, I don't know if they were in consideration for the GM job. So they had done their homework on the Dolphins and kind of came to the same conclusion, which was this is not a tough football team. It's not a physical football team. So that's something to just keep in mind in terms of how they try and build this thing out.
That has been borne out when they go play good teams in the Mike McDaniel era, and especially in cold weather, but really in any weather. His record against teams over 500 was pretty brutal. The Colts have a coach in Shane Steichen who might be looking around and thinking, man, I could have maybe coached up Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. He would have been one of the bells of the ball here if he had. I'm sure he wanted to keep his job, of course. But I think he would have ended up with a pretty good job in this cycle. Instead, he's with the Colts, which is not a bad job. They have $26 million in cap space. They have a lot of questions. One of the best lists of potential free agents in the league. Daniel Jones, got to figure out what you're doing with him. The expectation is he's staying, so it's just the structure and how much. Alec Pierce, who's going to be really high on my list, really good deep threat. Nick Cross, who was a great story for them as a developmental guy who turned into a really good safety. Kwity Paye, who's played a lot for them. Braden Smith, who's been the right tackle forever, has injury concerns. It's a little uncertain where he's going in his career. And then DeForest Buckner says he wants to keep playing football despite a neck injury, but that's a tricky situation. And Charvarius Ward, who was a big ticket item in free agency last year, is considering retirement. So those are two aging players too. You're not even sure if they're going to play. It's a lot. So Chris Ballard, you have a good nucleus, I think, to be a competitive team, but they're going to be one of, if I was making one of those articles, the 10 most important active teams this offseason, I think they're one of those 10.
I have to go back and watch Kwity Paye this last year because I thought he was kind of on this upward trajectory, and then I was just pulling up his numbers from the year. It was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
There, but I mean, the previous 2 years, 8.5 sacks in 16 games, 8 sacks in 15 games, and that's the profile of someone who's a first round pick who's got solid production. If not, it's not elite production, but it's solid production. Those guys usually get paid handsomely in free agency, but I don't know what I haven't studied him off of this last year.
He is kind of the picture of a guy who's going to get paid in free agency because there's not a ton of options. A little more on hope. A little bit of Odafe Owe, better I would say before the trade, but now Owe I think made his money with how he played at the end of the Chargers, but similar. I would say their biggest need would be juice in the front seven. Just a little more difference making juice on defense. And then cornerback, if Charvarius Ward is retiring, that kind of opens up a hole where you didn't think there was one.
And no first round pick with Sauce Gardner trade there. So interesting with them. All right, I'm going to get to my last team, which is Baltimore. Baltimore, when we were doing this, I said, I got the playoff teams. I'll do Baltimore. And you reminded me they didn't make the playoffs. I was like, gosh, that game against Pittsburgh felt so much like a playoff game. I forgot it wasn't actually a playoff game. It was to get in the playoffs. They have 10 picks, 14, 45, and 80 there in the first 3 rounds. They have $8.4 million in space, which if they can get Lamar Jackson reworked, I think that'll create a lot more room there. Well, they'll be able to be more active. I even saw in their press conference that Eric DeCosta, their general manager, had made a comment. If we can get this Lamar thing, it'll allow us to, to be aggressive, maybe on the upper tier of guys in the free agent markets. I don't know who they have in mind, but that was interesting. Edge rusher. They did not rush well last year. And Odafe Owe is a great example. 0 sacks with them, goes to the Chargers and finished with 8 or whatever. He finished +3 in the playoffs. Not a single sack with the Ravens. So I don't know if you want to say that's part of the scheme. But 7.5, Gavin said there for sacks for Owe. So I was right, between 7 and 8. Head coach situation, we'll see what happens there. I do know they love Anthony Weaver. I saw he was coming back in for a second interview. And maybe as you're listening to this, they've already hired somebody, but that was a name I would definitely keep an eye on.
You keep saying this like we're like banking this and we're putting them up in March. It's going up in 12 hours, DJ.
The NFL moves fast, Gregory. It moves fast.
Just Greg, the extra G.
I say it every time, and you correct me every time, which just shows a character flaw on your part. And then to me, I wrote down, in terms of their keys, I wrote down Lamar Whisperer. They need to bring someone in who connects with him, whether or not that's the head coach, whether or not that's the new offensive coordinator. They need somebody who can connect and get the absolute best out of Lamar. I think that's one of the underrated on the to-do list for this team. Yeah,
and maybe it doesn't necessarily have to only be an offensive guy. If it is Anthony Weaver, he does kind of fit the mold, actually, now that I think of it. If they want a guy for a long time.
They love him there. They loved him as a player. They loved him as a coach.
In terms of almost as a young Harbaugh, where it's, obviously he's a defensive mind.
Young Vrabel is what it reminds me of.
Yeah, of just a guy who's going to be kind of leading the charge for the entire building and hiring the right people. You could see that. They have a lot of questions. Madubuike, there's been talk that he could be retiring.
I was being very nervous about that one.
So I'm not sure what that does to the cap situation. So I'll pass on that. Marlon Humphrey is a guy whose production hasn't been as great in recent years. And so is he there next year for sure? Isaiah Likely is a free agent, so it might be tough to keep him. They gave Mark Andrews a surprising another contract late last season, actually. I was surprised to see that. Good money for him. So you would think they're not going to pay Isaiah Likely. And they have Tyler Linderbaum as a free agent. they didn't give him the 5th-year option. And if he gets out there,
I'm curious on that one. Yes. In a lot of these teams that we've talked about, interior offensive line has come up a bunch for a lot of teams. And I know, look, I don't think he played a perfect brand of football this year. There's some games where I thought he got moved around a little bit more than he had in the past, but this is a massive upgrade for the majority of teams who need interior linemen.
He's like a scheme fit, I would think. I have asked around a little about him because if makes it to free agency, he'll be near the top of my list. And yeah, he can get pushed back as a pass protector. So I think you got to have like the right vision of how you're going to use him in the running game where he can be a difference maker and maybe the right people around him and everything. And
you know who else they said that about last year? It was Drew Dahlman, and that worked out quite well.
It did. That entire
How'd you rate him
line
last year, Greg? Did we get that one right?
Yeah, he was high up. He was quite high up on the list. Probably won't be as high up. Now I feel mean even mentioning this, but poor Patrick Claybon's punching bag all season as a diehard Ravens fan. Daniel Falele, also a free agent. Ravens fans were just killing that poor guy. If you can call like a 6'8", 360-pound man a poor guy. But
yeah, well, not the best.
We did it.
I exhausted my list. Are you done too?
Wasn't that it, or am I crazy? I think I'm done. Wait, I have the Jaguars. Oh, it was always the Jaguars. They would have killed me. I'm so happy I checked.
Look at you.
So the Jaguars, one of the teams in the AFC, I would throw the Bills into this mix too. The way that Texans game went, I don't know. As a team that just thinks, man, we could have made the Super Bowl this year. Mm-hmm. If it had just fallen a little differently, I really think they had the goods to make it happen. They have a tricky offseason. They're $21 million over the cap. I think they need some offensive line help. Secondary, I would say, would be a concern for them. They have Greg Newsom, who they traded for, and Monteric Brown, who had a nice year as free agents, and that was a thin position anyways. Devin Lloyd's a free agent. Travis Etienne is a free agent. I think you need some more bulk in the interior of their defensive line. They're obviously great on the edges. And so it does seem like a team, even though it has a lot of talent, a lot of good things going on, that is in year 2 of a multi-year process of kind of turning over the roster. So I do think they have a lot of work still to do.
Yeah, I think it's a defensive heavy offseason. I think they continue to make changes there and see if they can find some upgrades. Now, remember, no first round pick, obviously, with Travis Hunter. So, but again, hopefully you get him back. And they've said, James Gladstone said that they plan on using him both ways again next year. So that's a chance to get 2 impact players if they can run him out there for 17 weeks and find his role and get him going. But they pick 56. They do have 3/3. So 81, 88, 100, kind of a Rams-esque old school draft here. So they've got a chance. They got to do it outside the first round, though.
I am getting a note from our producer, Drew, noting I had Drew Dahlman 14th on the initial ranks. That's pretty solid. I think he even went up when some other guys got taken. That's the good news. The bad news is he was 1 spot below Amari Cooper. I didn't know he wanted to retire.
I didn't say it.
Cooper killed me last year. That was the one guy I really had in the wrong spot. I fell for the name value a little bit. Speaking of name value, wide receivers, the one just X factor here. Would they consider trading Brian Thomas Jr., who wasn't a great fit in this offense?
He's just a complimentary piece right now. I mean, he's easily the 3rd option.
You get a lot for Brian Thomas. If you were bold enough to do it, I think there's teams in the league that would have a vision of how they would want to use him, and maybe is a better fit, and you could get a lot for him. So that's something.
Yeah, for a team that doesn't have a first round pick, maybe you look at that.
Spicy. I love doing this exercise. It helped me
helpful, Greg.
Do some homework.
It is helpful, don't you think?
It did. I wrote this all down. This was like a good early process. I need a deadline to start planning out my free agency, my team building, all this stuff.
You're my feedback guy because you care what people think. So what has the feedback been on these episodes? Because I think it's pretty good.
These little daggers every now and then.
Yeah.
Character flaw for Gregory.
constantly correcting.
You care what people think.
Not a good look. But
let us know. To hit us up in the mentions. People are listening. The numbers are great. I'm hearing from my friends, some regular listeners too, who they like it when you take me down to size, which is troubling because I'm already at such a low size. Yeah.
It's fun. It really is. And I'm not to be serious for a second. It's these episodes, and I think you guys, if you're football fans, will enjoy them, and hopefully have been enjoying them, because it's just a great primer as we get ready for the offseason. And like I jotted some stuff down I wanted to get to as we wrap up here. You look at New England, who's still playing. Obviously, 2 years ago, Drake May. Last year, this is just on my side of it with the draft. Campbell, Henderson, Kyle Williams, Wilson, the guard, Woodson. We had a pick the other day. Borgales, a kicker. That's in 2 years. Denver, who's still going. You see R.J. Harvey making plays every single game. Pat Bryant, before his injuries, had been doing his thing. The year before, you get your quarterback, Bo Nix. When healthy, you've seen, Jonah Ellis, you've seen Franklin, you've seen Abrams Drain, these guys making plays. The Rams, Ferguson making big catches. Josiah Stewart is a rusher. Then the year before, Verse, Fisk, Corum. On and on. And I go through Zabel and Eamon Wari this year, Byron Murphy the year before. These teams, that's just a draft component. You could make a strong list of guys for all these teams in free agency where they've nailed it. 2 years, Greg, 2 years of nailing the draft, and maybe even 1 or 2 years in free agency. You can take your team from the doldrums, picking third in the draft, to playing in a championship game with a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So that's why I love this exercise.
I was thinking that the Patriots in particular could have an impact on this free agency market because they had the most cap space last year. They still have a lot. And they spent like crazy. They spent the most. They missed out on a couple guys, Ronnie Stanley, Chris Godwin, and they ended up spending it elsewhere, and it worked out well. And in 1 year, just think about the hit rate that they had in free agency. Stephon Diggs, Morgan Moses, who's been a solid right tackle for them all offseason.
Uncle Milty.
Right. Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis. I mean, those are 6 or 7
key guys
of your key guys right there in one offseason, plus the draft picks that you mentioned. And that's got to get a lot of people around. Okay, I guess we better start taking some swings. We could be like the Patriots.
Yeah, no, but this is helpful. So as we get into top 50 season, mock draft season, your free agency list, this is fun. This is fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll be posting each and every Tuesday all the way through the draft. So we'll be back in a week. By then, we'll know our Super Bowl participants. We'll see you then.